Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about something that I started thinking about following a Reddit post that I saw that basically asked missionaries, or rather returned missionaries, if they felt any guilt over their missions. And the sentence that was used near the end of the post was, "Do you take responsibility for your mission?" And there were a lot of responses, and I responded, and I thought about it, and it caused me to think about how I feel about my mission now versus how I felt about my mission when I went on my mission, and what I feel guilty about as opposed to what I don't feel guilty about, how I regret things differently in some cases than others. So, do I regret serving an LDS mission now that I don't believe in the church? Yes, but not in the sense that I feel guilty about it as a whole, because I was doing what I thought was right at the time. I was doing something that I thought would bring me a better testimony and would show my devotion to God and show that my devotion to God was stronger than my devotion to other things in my life that I really loved. And so, because I was trying to put God first, and because I saw that as putting the most important thing first, I really don't feel guilt for my desire to serve a mission, and I don't feel guilt for most of what I've done on my mission. Now, you could ask, well, what about the people who were converted as a result of your mission? Do you feel guilty that there are people that were converted that might not have been if you weren't there? Well, first of all, almost all the people that were converted as a result of my mission, or converted in part as a result of my mission, were people that had not been contacted first by me. There was a pattern of investigators taking a long time and meeting with many different sets of missionaries before they would actually get baptized in my mission, or if they did get baptized quickly, it was often because they came from member referrals. And so, in either one of those cases, it would be very rare that you would be the missionary who actually started the chain of events that led to somebody being baptized. And I felt that in most cases, the people who did choose to get baptized would have chosen that regardless of whether I was there or not. They would have chosen it no matter who the missionary in that area was. And so I didn't feel like I was responsible. And at the time, I felt like I wasn't needed because of that, and I became depressed because of that. But now looking back on it, I feel like, in a way, that kind of saves me from some guilt, because I don't feel that I was the one that caused these baptisms to happen. There was one investigator that my companion and I contacted first who ended up joining the church. And so there is a 50-50 chance that I was the first person to talk to that person, because I don't remember which one of us talked to her first. But again, in that case, I look at it and I think, well, I was just doing what I had been told to do. I was put in that situation. I put myself in that situation based on flawed information. And other people told me what to do, and I did it. And so, as far as I see it, it's kind of a chain of people telling people what to do that goes back to Joseph Smith. And so Joseph Smith is the one who's primarily responsible for this. But of course, it does make me sad to think that some people might not be doing well in the church that joined while I was there. That does make me sad because I know that there are a lot of people who struggle within the church. And so to know that people that I was instrumental in bringing into the church in some way might be struggling within the church does make me sad. But I don't regret it in the same way that people might think that I should. And it's because, again, I don't feel like I'm the one who's primarily responsible for it. I was doing what I thought was right at the time. There are a couple of things that happened on my mission, though, that I regret more seriously. Not just in the sense of I wouldn't do that again, but in the sense of I do feel bad about these things in a way that I don't about typical missionary work. And the first of these things was that I was not completely honest with one of my investigators about why we wanted to bring a member to our meetings with her. This investigator was meeting with us primarily so that she could read books in English with native English speakers. And originally, I was the native English speaker and I had a Korean companion, but my Korean companion left the area and I got another foreign companion, American, as most of the foreigners were. And at the time, I used the fact that we no longer had a Korean with us to help us during the gospel teaching part of our meetings as an excuse to ask to bring a Korean ward member with us. I didn't tell her that the primary reason I wanted to bring a Korean ward member with us was because that's what the mission and the church wanted us to do. And I was trying to do what they wanted and get us a member lesson weekly as opposed to a non-member lesson weekly. So I just told her about us wanting to have a Korean there for the sake of having a Korean there, which I'm not saying wasn't real at all, because it does help to have an actual Korean with you, but it wasn't the primary reason. And as I was preparing to leave that area, and when I think were going to send in a Korean after me, I felt guilty about having used that line of reasoning because I felt like I hadn't been completely honest. And now she's going to have 3 people still in her meeting with her, hopefully, if all goes well according to the church. But I wasn't honest with the original reason for why we wanted that member there. And the reason why it bothered me that I wasn't completely honest was because there was another church in South Korea that we were aware of where the members of that church had a pattern of not being honest. And this particular investigator had met with members of that church before. And she kind of felt that our church was similar to their church in some ways. And I didn't like sensing and feeling that I was similar to, in any way, to a member of a church where the members had a pattern of lying about whether they were members of that church. And so the fact that I could sense that a little bit within myself, a pattern of not complete honesty, did bother me. So that's the first thing that I regret more than average missionary work. The second thing that I regret also happened in the same area, and it was that we showed the home of a less active to the senior couple in the ward. And the reason why I think this was an issue and why I don't feel that this was appropriate was because this particular less active, her new address was not known to the ward, but she had showed where she lived to me and my companion. And I don't believe when she did that she was giving consent for everybody in the church to know where she lived. One thing I've been learning about lately and thinking about a lot about lately is consent, and how the church doesn't really have healthy boundaries regarding consent. So there's the idea that once you're a member of the church, you basically consented to everything the church can ever do, especially if you've gone through the temple. And I think that that is concerning and unhealthy. But at the time, I actually did, tell the senior couple and the leaders who I was in the meeting with before I showed them where she lived. I said, am I supposed to do this? Are you sure I'm supposed to do this? And the senior couple, the elder of the senior couple, was like, yeah, you should do this because you're working with the leaders, and the leaders of the ward need to know where she lives. And so I did it, and I showed the senior couple where she lived so he could inform the ward leaders. But I don't feel good about that. I feel like I violated, I don't know how much she actually trusted us, but I feel like whatever trust was there, I sort of violated. And that makes me frustrated and sad. And if I was in that situation again, obviously, if I was in that situation again, I would ask to go home right away. But one of the things I would not do is I would not give somebody's contact information to the leaders without being sure that that's something that they were okay with. So those are my main regrets from my mission that I remember. It's possible that I would have different regrets if I could remember everything perfectly, but those are the ones that stand out to me. And hopefully from watching this video, you can see that missions and the church put a lot of strain and a lot of pressure on missionaries to act in particular ways. And so, as disturbing as a missionary's behavior might look from the outside, I don't feel that missionaries are fully responsible for most of what they do as missionaries. I feel like they're conditioned in order to act in a particular way, and that's what they do. And I'm just grateful that I'm not in that position anymore. And hopefully my channel and my videos can ultimately reach someone who may be questioning or struggling, and help them to realize that there are disturbing patterns within the church. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Comment and let me know what your mission experience was like if you went on one, or if you have any questions about my mission experience, let me know in the comments. And I'll see you next time. Bye.